Well, hello everyone. It's Sybil Starr, and I am here to give the astrology update for the Virgo New Moon, which occurs on September 6th at 14 degrees of Virgo at 5:53 p.m. Pacific time. But first, let's just look at the chart. I know not everyone is looking at the chart important too, but it is important to some people. So to begin with, I'll be showing you what we'll be talking about tonight or today. Um, so we have the sun and the moon at 14 degrees, 38 minutes of Virgo. And it is conjunct. This is the asteroid Hygeia. If those of you, if there are some of you are not familiar with her, I'll be talking about Hygeia, goddess of hygiene, so about health and nutrition. Mars is here also in Virgo, so we have 4 points, as well as the vertex, which I'm not going to talk about, in Virgo. And they're basically all opposite the planet Neptune and the asteroid, the goddess Athena. And this new moon is also trine Pluto. Excuse me, trine Uranus. This is Uranus here at 14 degrees, 39 minutes. So you see how close that is. It's a very close trine. Trines are gifts. They're 120 degrees. And Mars and Hygeia are also in a trine to Pluto. Just a couple of more things. The goddess Venus is in a square to Pluto, and that's a challenge. And Mercury, the ruler of Virgo, is in a trine to Saturn. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And I also just want to point out this is what is called a natural chart or an Aries chart, which means the ascendant is here at 0 degrees Aries. So everything is in its natal house. And the reason I like to use this chart for new moons, full moons, and events like that is because it doesn't matter where you are on the planet when the new moon happens with an Aries chart. It's kind of the same energy for everyone. All right, so now let's go back and talk about what all of that means. Well, and the other thing I didn't talk about, which I want to say, is that there are 5 planets retrograde at this new moon. And by the end of September, there'll be 6 planets retrograde because Mercury goes retrograde, and we'll talk a little bit about that today as well. So 5 planets retrograde, what does that mean? Well, first, retrograde is an optical illusion. It has to do with the speed of the orbits of the planets, and when so it's kind of like when you come up on a train and the train's going really fast, but the train starts to slow down, but you're going at the same speed. It appears that the train is moving backwards, okay? And it's an optical illusion. It is not. It's just slowing down. And so when these planets slow down, what does that mean? Well, one thing, of course, it means just that, slow down. There's more internal processes that want to happen. A lot of energy into, let's say, the inner world, into inner processes, because it's about aligning with your inner truth, and which may not be in alignment with the consensus truth, the consensus wisdom at the time. So it's about finding your own truth, your own way, and it's also a time to not push, to just let things unfold. All right, so now to the Virgo new moon, and what does that mean? Well, I'm going to talk just first a little bit about Virgo and what Virgo means, because it's a very strong energy right now. And Virgo can be a challenging energy to do well. People often make fun of Virgos because they're so detail oriented, but what would we do without people who have that strong ability to see how things line up properly? Virgo is detail oriented. It is about analysis. And part of it is because it's part of the purification process. I know that in this Virgo time, I'm finding that I really want to get more organized. I'm going through like my refrigerator, through my closet, through my books, so that's a really good way to spend energy in times of Virgo, is to kind of get reorganized and once again make, order out of chaos. Although we know it always returns to chaos, but it's good to get organized sometimes to let things go, and it's part of that purification process. Virgo is the sign of the Virgin, and the Virgin actually means, in ancient times, a woman who is whole and complete unto herself and is owned by no one. It's an independent woman. That's what virgin actually meant. We have put the we have what is superimposed chaste by our patriarchal culture, but that was not the original meaning. It is the archetype of the priestess, and it is one of the goddess signs. Some people believed this is related to Isis, it's related to Mother Mary, and it's also related to Demeter Ceres, the Greco-Roman goddess of the grain, because the symbol is a virgin holding a sheaf of grain, or a maiden, a young maiden. So I guess we would think virgin, okay? And because also Virgo has to do with sacred work. And it's about recognizing that there is no difference between the sacred and the mundane, that it is all the same. It is just, I would say, our level of consciousness, how mindful we are. We can wash the dishes in a mindful way, and it becomes we step into the spiritual world through that mindfulness. Virgo is the god of small things. There is nothing too small to be significant and important. Random acts of kindness. Virgo is about humility, and they say humility is one of the gateways of heaven, or the gateways to heaven, and it's also about service. Okay. Virgo is the sign that shows us where we can improve. And where Virgo can get into trouble is when they are desiring perfection and not self-improvement, and being able to recognize the self-improvement. Okay, but perfection, as spiritual beings, we're completely perfect. As a human being, we'll never be perfect, and making mistakes is part of our path to growth, and that can be hard sometimes for Virgo to accept. But it's also about learning to do something well. That's how we learn to do something well, usually, is by making mistakes. Okay, and Virgo is one of the signs of health. And so it also has a very strong mind-body connection, and it rules the assimilation process in the body, the assimilation of nutrients in the small intestine. Okay, and so it kind of does that in our world too. It's about assimilation, how we assimilate and utilize information. Okay, so it's about discernment. Because as it comes through the assimilation process, it is like what are nutrients and what do I need to let go of, and that's part of the Virgo process, how we assimilate our food, but also how we assimilate the stimulus in the world around us into our own psyche and consciousness. And through the discernment process comes critical thinking, using critical thinking skills. Virgo is all about analysis. Now, the more shadow side of Virgo is that it is known to have, or let's put it this way, in its quest for perfection, it can become very critical, and usually it's self-critical. And I often tell my Virgo friends, and even in myself too, to really watch my self-talk, because what I say to myself is has a great impact. The universe hears what I say to myself. Okay, but it's also just simply about being kind and forgiving ourselves for making mistakes, and to treat another person, to treat ourselves like we would treat someone else who had made the same mistake. And then one more thing about Virgo is that it is ruled by Mercury, so it can get lost in chronic busyness. Like I said, on one hand, there is no task too small to be sacred. And yet, if we're just involved in meaningless work and we're not putting our consciousness in it, then it just becomes chronic busyness, and it keeps us from actually feeling. The opposite sign of Virgo is Pisces, which is about feeling. Okay. All right, and then one more thing is I do want to talk about Hygeia because she is such a strong energy in this new moon. And so Hygeia, of course, within the Greek god cosmology, they frequently have uh, different genesis and birth stories. So I'm just going to well, there's two that I'm going to speak of. One is that she was the daughter of Asclepius, who was one of their major healing gods who had the dream healing temples. And another was that she was an aspect of Athena, the healer aspect of Athena. Because Hygeia is about natural health and healing, cleanliness, nutrition, common sense, like how we take care of ourselves. We know we need good food, good water. We may not do it, but we know that's what we need, and our body needs that. And so she's really active right now, I feel, and we'll talk a little more about some of her, how she's dancing with the other planets in the chart. But that's what she means. All right, so in this whole new moon complex of Sun, Moon, Hygeia, and Mars, they're all opposite Neptune and Athena in Pisces. Now, Neptune in Pisces, Neptune is that place where we are all one. And Pisces is the sign that Neptune rules. It feels very comfortable in. So it's about where we are all one. It is the unconditional love of the universe. But when Neptune comes along, it's really about taking us into that place of where we are connected to all, which is connected to the divine. And so it is that place where we are connected to that deep intuitive process and our inner guidance. But Neptune brings a fog because it kind of, I'm going to say, kind of brings a fog around the outer world. And so it can bring in illusion and delusion, all of the places where we can delude ourselves and tell ourselves what we want to be true is true, whether it is or not. That's why this Virgo piece is about, discernment and critical thinking skills and the importance of of both. And of course, the other thing is the illusions in the outer world. All is not as it seems. That's why we're being guided to use our critical thinking skills as well as to go inward and feel our way through. And this combination of critical thinking skills and intuition, because Neptune can be a confusing time, and we know there is so much misinformation in the field. And so how do we discern? One is, of course, educating ourselves and learning all we can. But ultimately, the truth lies in our heart. And so the mind is the tool that guides us to the truth, but the truth is really in our hearts. And we know when something is true, whether we want to believe it or not. Okay. And I feel like the really big thing about this new moon, and I'm calling it, trusting your inner GPS. It is about stilling the mind. As we go into the stillness is when we connect to that divine intelligence, when we center within ourselves while the storm rages without, and live in the present moment, because that is when we are the most able to connect to the divine, when we're not worrying about the past or the future or something going on, where we can just, recognize that we are not our mind, and that our mind is part of who we are, and it's a tool that we use, and it's very active in Virgo, but we're also bringing in Neptune, that place of stillness. And it is about trusting yourself, trusting your inner guidance. The truth lies within you. It lies nowhere outside of yourself. All right. Now, the Mars-Neptune conjunction, I want to talk, or opposition, because this is really significant, and Hygeia as well. So Mars is about action. It is the planet of action. But in an aspect to Neptune, it can bring confusion about what to do. Mars is our direction in life. It can bring confusion around our direction in life. So often when Neptune is around, it says, when in doubt, do nothing until you have some clarity or some guidance. Because that's what it is trying to do. This aspect is leading us to trusting our inner guidance. Is like when we're researching something and we find like 10,000, conflicting opinions. there's all this conflicting information, is to at that point, put the information down, go sit with yourself and line up and ask, what is really the truth here? And especially if your decision lies upon this for you, to get to the what is really true for you. Okay. Um, and recognize that no one outside of yourself knows what is in your highest good but you. You just have to be in touch with it and align with divine will. And so this brings in Hygeia because, we are obviously in the middle of a healing crisis here on the planet. And it's also purification. We're moving through these dark energies. So, how to navigate through them. And, the health being one of the issues that are, is just right there front and center. And I feel like, the Pluto aspect, the Mars Hygeia trine Pluto, says that it has to do with self-empowerment in relation to our health. It's it's about educating yourself about your health and your body. We have given our power away to the medical establishment for too long. Our body has its own wisdom. And, even when we go to a doctor, it's always good to get a second opinion. Often doctors can't even, agree on what an x-ray looks like, what it says. So, get more than one opinion, but then ultimately it's your body, your decision. You decide what is best for you. Okay. And there is no one size fits all for any health issue. Now, another teaching I feel like it is giving us is around humility. Virgo shows us our imperfections in our quest for perfection. Our mistakes, often when we make mistakes, humility allows us, requires us to take responsibility, make amends or fix what we can, and then forgive ourselves. A big piece of humility is just owning our stuff and then forgiving our stuff and doing what we can to fix it. The other piece is it shows us just simply where we need to surrender to a higher power because we are not in control of the situation, and just trust. There is divine guidance. We are divinely held. What follows from humility is the courage to forgive ourselves and others, which brings self-empowerment. Now, this new moon is also in a trine, that really tight trine to Uranus. And Uranus, is the maverick. Uranus is shaking us all out of our comfort zones. And in Taurus, I feel like it is saying, once again, the new earth is coming. Vision it into being. Mother Earth is shedding her skin. I had a vision of her shedding her skin for this gray, like a gray film. Okay. And she was bright and lit up as she shed this skin. And so we are stepping into a new world. And this is a world of the unknown. This is a world we haven't been before, and it takes courage. We are in uncharted territory, and there is no safety or security, so it is time to only make brave choices. What we had is collapsing, and we cannot return. There is a new world being born, and it does take courage, and sometimes it takes baby steps, and sometimes leaps, and sometimes we're getting getting pushed off the cliff and have no choice but to trust. But this is a time of trusting, of remembering who we are and with Neptune, our connection, that all that is, and that we are held in love in every moment, and to take those brave, courageous steps. And the other thing about Uranus is that it is about the individuation process. We all wear a different face of Creator and have come to experience life from that perspective. And we should never let others determine our path for us. Our path is unique. It is our own, and we each have our gift of Creator that is unique as well. And our healing path is unique to each of us. And Uranus is so intimately involved in this new moon, is showing us once again that Healing now, we're moving into areas of healing based on frequency and vibration. And we are also in the midst, like I said, of these purification times where we are releasing these darker and denser energies. And as we do, it is an upgrade. It's a vibrational frequency upgrade to our bodies and to Mother Earth as we release these darker energies. And, some say that, Mother Earth herself is a multidimensional being, and that actually these fourth and fifth dimensions, fourth and fifth dimensional worlds are already there. We just need to raise our frequency and vibration to align with her. And some things that I think are important are, well, high vibrational food, water, where we focus our thoughts. We know where we focus our thoughts is what we create. We are creating in the quantum field all the time. And so as we align with Mother Earth and her higher frequencies, if we create in that field, okay? And to seek out the higher vibrational healing modalities such as sound, flower and plant essence, radionics, energy work, and so on. But the most important thing with Hygeia is just simply, the simple things, the common things, organic food, structured water, exercise, good sleep, good thoughts, good companionship, good music, high vibrational. Yes, all of those things. All right. Mercury is the ruler of Virgo, and Mercury is in Libra. And so Libra is the sign of the scales, and it is about being tactful, diplomatic, and fair, being able to see both sides. But it's also in a trine to Saturn. And Saturn, is about maturity. And so I feel like, and a trine is an easy flow. And so it feels like it's saying we should not make decisions through fear. We may feel pressure to act upon something that does not resonate within our hearts, but we are being asked to find that field where we do resonate and to make decisions from that place. And once again, it's about going to that still place within and listening that allows us to make a decision in response to our inner guidance instead of a reaction to outer stimuli. We must be at peace with our decisions and have no regrets. So I feel like, once again, it is just saying, go to that still place within, find that place, ask for guidance and trust the guidance you get. And if you're not at peace with it, it's maybe not the right guidance. Maybe you need to sit with it longer. Sometimes it doesn't come right away. And we have Mercury retrograde in Libra at the end of the month, and it goes retrograde at 25 degrees of Libra, and it's retrograde for 6 weeks. Let's see, it's retrograde from the 26th to from September 26th to October 18th. Okay, all right. And so I feel like this is kind of also bringing this in, the need to be at peace with our decisions, and it might take time, and that we can change our mind. The key is to be at peace with what we choose. And we have free will choice. We can choose, we can always make a different decision, and we have free will choice to choose what is in our highest good. But the key, like I said, is to find that place of peace. And I feel like that's what that Mercury retrograde in Libra is about. Okay? Because the truth brings inner peace, even if it is challenging. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is Venus is in Libra, square Pluto, and it's also trine Jupiter. And Venus is our, is our connection with others. Pluto brings death, transformation, and rebirth, but it also brings self-empowerment. So I feel like it's like there's some healing potential within our relationships, but we may have insights into our own self-sabotaging behavior in relationships, things that we may be doing that really, aren't helping us be in healthy relationships. Another is the potential for self-empowerment through respecting the choices and decisions of others while standing in our own truth. You know, Libra is also about truth. Um, Something else that is happening and happening a lot is that the field of our relationships is changing due to a changing resonance. That people may be leaving our lives, maybe people that we've been really close with for a long time, and suddenly our fields no longer resonate. And so we may be feeling some grief around that. And in some ways, there might even feel like betrayal. But the truth is, it's important to see the big picture and the blessings as these realignments and alliances are created, of being in the same resonant field, because the truth is we've all come to Mother Earth and we're at a time of a great mission, of a great shift. And those with whom we share a resonant field, we may have some deeply spiritual work to do with them. Okay. All right. So I want to just kind of tie this up. The conclusion, it is this. This is so much about finding the stillness, going within, listening to your inner guidance and trusting it, and knowing that no one knows what is in your highest good but you. But sometimes it takes a while to get there. Okay, we are in times of great change and uncertainty, where the old is collapsing and the new is coming. It's a time to make brave choices. It is not a time to be safe. Well, it's not safe. Like I just said, I just saw this quote from Alan Watts. It says, reality is never safe or certain. Or what is it? Safe, yeah, safety or security are just simply not certain. Okay, and it is a time of making choices from that place of stillness that bring inner peace, even if these choices are difficult. All right, well, wishing you all a wonderful month of September. I am going to be doing another ceremony for the fall equinox. If you want to find out more about that, it's on September 22nd. Go to my website, sybylstar.com. And also please subscribe if you liked this video, and wishing you all a great month ahead. All right.